The Shanghai Dragons, currently the best team we know of in the Overwatch League, who were previously the worst team in not just the Overwatch League, but also in professional sporting history. I'll be documenting their rise in a journalistic style from 2018 to now, alongside returning to my roots by breaking down the recent grand finals in good old educational style. Let's get started. Now I'm pretty sure everyone knows about Shanghai Dragons going 0-40, as mentioned in my Overwatch iceberg, but I'm not sure as many people know how bad going 0-40 is in the lens of professional sports, not just esports as a whole. So here's the score esports quickly detailing and comparing their loss streak.
You have to get really deep into some obscure traditional sports to find any team that's ever done worse. Across the board, no NFL, NBA, MLB, or NHL team has done worse, with the longest losing streak there coming from the Philadelphia 76ers, who in 2015 lost 28 games straight across 2 seasons.
Not only did they go 0-40, but they also picked up half the maps that the team in 19th place did. It got so bad to a point that teams actually started preparing against the Shanghai Dragons towards the end of 2018, since nobody wanted to be the first team to lose against them. For some additional insight and perspective, here's Fearless, the former main tank for the Dragons in the first 3 years, now on the Dallas Fuel, and Dia, Chinese hitscan for the LA Valiant, briefly reflecting on the 2018 season.
심정이 지금 말이 안 돼요. 너무 시원섭섭한데 시원섭섭하면서도 또 이제 한국 가면은 정말 많이 후회할 것 같아요. 내가 왜 그렇게 최선을 다하지 못했나 이 생각할 것 같고 또 근데 또 그렇다고 해서
就快回家了嘛。说实话，就在这边待这么长时间，然后一场没赢，就有一点难受。
But let's not dwell on that any longer. In 2019, their roster was completely revamped, with Gamsu, Izayaki, Diding, DM, Luffy, Youngjin, and more players joining the team, and as a result, they picked up their first win against the Boston Uprising. Not only did the Dragons have one of the most memorable moments in esports full stop, they also picked up some more mid-season glory by becoming Stage 3 champions. Still, they weren't satisfied, with the rivalry between the Vancouver Titans and San Francisco Shock still stealing the majority of the spotlight. As a result, in 2020, they formed a beastly roster with Lip, Fletter, Lee Jae-gong, Void and Stan1 joining the team, and to no one's surprise, they won the May Melee and were the number 1 seeded team in Asia, but unfortunately, they came short in the Grand Finals, losing the Grand Finals loser bracket against the Seoul Dynasty. And for context, Shanghai had beaten Seoul consistently, if not multiple times in a row, but sadly couldn't pull it off when it mattered the most. Still, they came back stronger than ever in last year's season, winning the June Joust, Summer Showdown, and of course, the Grand Finals in a clean 4-0 sweep.
And they're so close, a minute 15 left of the Atlanta Rain have nothing left to work with. The Dragons teach us that if we want to climb high, we must do it against the wind. The Shanghai Dragons are your 2021 Overwatch League champions.
They never really let control of being the best team in the Overwatch League. And they're just so oppressive. They're so fast. They're so aggressive. Even when you're in spawn, they're still going to chase you. They're still going to keep using ultimates. And that is why it's so hard to play against them.
They go from the absolute worst franchise at the start. They are able to rebuild and build back the strongest.
Honestly, as a whole, the Shanghai Dragons organizational story is one of the best like comeback stories in esports history, where on an organizational level, to go from 0-40 your first season to 4-0 in the grand finals, this year, that's pretty magical.
So now, let's get to breaking down the Dragons in the grand finals. I'll start off with Egoistcat explaining the fundamental matchup between the Brawl comp of the Atlanta Rain and the Poke Dive comp of the Shanghai Dragons.
Shanghai have a comp that relies on taking alternate angles and burning their enemy down with range spam to the point where they can push in and engage to clean up the fight. Atlanta, on the other hand, are playing a fairly standard rush comp. They want to look to speed boost around the map and try to catch enemies, or get into a position where they can use the objective to force the enemy into a brawl. Playing against each other, we can imagine that Atlanta will want to use cover to get close to Shanghai, then try to speed boost out with ultimates to catch them. It's up to Shanghai to disrupt or negate that speed boost with whatever else they have, then engage onto Atlanta once Atlanta start to run out of resources.
A perfect example of the Dragons executing their win condition is in the first fight of the grand finals. The Dragons repel Reigns' rush via Shanghai's flankers taking angles around the Rain, partially thanks to Izayaki breaking Pelican's turret, allowing Fletter to flank. This means that once the Rain rush, everyone on Shanghai is ready to engage, and you can see this with Gator being forced to draw up his shield and Iris lamping in an attempt to save Kai's life. Now the Rain are left in one big clump on point, allowing the Dragons to deepen and take more angles. You can see this in Fletter's POV, with Fate rolling through the Rain on Ball, Lip taking a nice angle with range and cover on Sombra, Izayaki rotating to catwalk on Zenyatta, and of course, Fletter's own angle on Tracer. If you want to know what to do here if feel the rain, I'd probably rewind all the way back to the first rush and to look to rush through catwalk instead of rushing through point. The reason for this, as you can see, is that this should give the backline of rain some more cover. Right now, Iris is just in the middle of point being surrounded by 4 angles, and to no one's surprise, the rain loses fight. Now on to the next fight with ultimates in play. The Dragons look to be lethal and committed to punishing any rotations. Fletter times his pulse bomb just half a second after Fate engages, meaning that the rain are looking at Fate instead of Fletter, allowing Fletter to get away with his pulse bomb without being flashed. Unfortunately, Iris is too late on the lamp, but that really wouldn't matter anyways, as Lit follows up with an EMP. Looking at the bigger picture, every single member of the Dragons commit on the rotation with again multiple different angles. Note that it's also really important on the backline, i.e. the Brig Zen, to also look to play more aggressively to get value off the chaos that Fate and Fletter are creating. Before I get on to the next fight, here's Lucid analysing 2 examples of the Dragons punishing rotations in a similar vein to how they're doing it here.
This is where Shanghai split positioning really shines. Izayaki actually finds a nade and he times it during the rotation. Shanghai aren't giving Shock too much respect. They're actually attacking the rotations as much as possible. This is really important. You can't just let the enemy rotate for free. And also if they try to commit all 6 on one target, that's just a huge waste of cooldowns because they're just going to run away while the rest of the team just tries to punish that. By attacking the rotations, Izayaki gets a nade. They get a kill off of that.
Looking at the third fight, the fundamentals really don't get any better. The Dragons look for an early engage, which is completely fine since everyone on the Dragons is set up and in position for it. They look to engage on the rain in open space during their first rotation with angles yet again scattering the rain as they are being pulled apart from all directions. Note the Dragons tricked ult economy as well, only tank ults were used this fight and DPS ults have been used the previous fight. In this final fight, the engage from Shanghai doesn't get any different, with Void, Fate and Fletter taking different angles. But this time, the rain decide to brute force Shanghai's engage with ultimates. This time, Fletter's pulse bomb is repelled by Iris's lamp and Massa looks to beat afterwards. However, the Dragons kite and keep distance from the rain after Massa beats, and after the beat dissipates, the Dragons look to re-engage again but with Rally. The rain at this point are losing sustain with no lamp, amp, beat or matrix, and the Dragons do what they've been doing this entire map. Iris desperately matrixes in order to repel the aggression from Shanghai's backline, but is matched by Izayaki Transcendence and Rain give up first map. So in summary, the Dragons execute the fundamentals of timing and positioning perfectly. Everyone including the backline commit when Rain rotate, different angles are always used when this happens, and even when Rain brute force their way with ults such as Sound Barrier, the Dragons kite back and re-engage when appropriate. Smaller details such as Izayaki destroying the turret to allow Fletter to flank, or Fletter's more nuanced timing, all come from everyone in Shanghai being in the correct mindset and understanding how to play their comp in different matchups. If you want to know more about the Brawl and Poke Dive matchup, be sure to check out my guides on them. Now onto a different comp matchup. Here's Egoistcat explaining the matchup of Ranger's double shield up against Shanghai's Poke Dive.
Similar to the first example, Shanghai are relying on poke damage from their backline to create an opening for their flankers to engage onto, at which point we'd also expect the backline to start pushing in. However, Atlanta are playing a Bat Brig double shield that wants to open corners using shields and range spam to safely clear angles and force enemies to hide. Once those angles are cleared, they can leapfrog forward spamming away until they win fights through poke, or get close enough to push onto the enemies hiding in cover in order to close out the fight.
A good example of Shanghai playing to their comp's win condition is on the Hanamura first point attack. Shanghai take coastal control of the map, slowly surrounding the double shield of Atlanta Rain. In the meantime, Shanghai's backline look to pressure aggressively, catching out Marsa in the process. Now Shanghai do actually soft reset here, but they do eventually win due to spawn advantage and due to the Atlanta Rain being clumped up. I'll finish off with the Egoistcat not only explaining, but also giving an example of the matchup between Ranger's anti-dive comp and Shanghai's poke dive.
Comps wise, Shanghai have a Zen Brig dive comp. They're looking to control flanks and force the enemy to group up, where they can hit them with spam and soft dives until they have the ultimates or openings they need to fully commit. Atlanta are playing a comp similar to the last double shield, but it's a bit more brawl folk. Depending on the situation, they could try to anchor in a strong position and catch the enemy engages, or they could rotate around the map and try to catch enemies with Orisa pulls and range spam. Instead, we see Atlanta hesitate on the corner for way too long, with Gator almost absent-mindedly anchoring on a corner that gives the team no cover to back up to and no potential to disrupt Shanghai's play. This inaction allows Shanghai all the time they need, not just to set up a clean fight with their ults, also to build the EMP in the first place. And although it might not seem like Atlanta had a huge amount of time in which to make the rotation that we talked about, without a good mindset there is no readiness or willingness to commit, which is what causes the missed opportunities like this one.
Well, that's the video. Make sure to subscribe, like and comment, and if this video helped to raise your IQ, be sure to share it with your friends to also raise theirs. Until next time.